Try to keep you on that mat so you have it. Starting out, feet that way, head this way, low on your back. We're going to start always thumbs at the base of the rib cage, pinkies on top of the hip bones, the pelvis. That space right there is what's going to open up when we take a breath in. The distance between your thumb and your pinky should get longer, and when you breathe out, try to maintain that space.
Okay.
So each breath a little bit bigger. Notice that torso gets taller, the chest opens up in all directions. Not worried about whether you're pushing the back down or lifting it up. You're just expanding the rib cage. Each rib connects to the vertebrae. So you're expanding the spine in a position that's safe right now. The next piece is to bring the big toes together and the heels apart, and then slowly bring the knees up to where they're about the highest point of that chest that you can, and then tighten. Close those hips together like you're holding a penny or a pencil. I'll give people things sometimes, hold on to that.
You want to touch
Squeeze it, yeah, squeeze it. Point the toes towards your nose. Point the chin slightly towards the torso. That lengthens the cervical spine. When I push the toes towards the nose and close the hips, it pulls down on the lumbar spine, and when you expand, it inflates the thoracic spine. So full spinal decompression in a gravity-assisted plan. If you want to make it a little more intense, open the shoulders, raise the hands up to the sky, press the fingertips together, match this pressure with the fingertips with the pressure on the foam, the inner thighs, boom, and start to bring them up and back. Beautiful.
You feel that in that left shoulder.
Yeah, so that is now a shoulder routine
Okay.
that is anchored and intensified by everything you're doing with the lower body and everything you're doing with the expansion of the chest. If you were to not be doing the chest expansions and do the shoulder work, you're not going to have the same tensioning effect. So constant, bigger and bigger and bigger in all directions. Up, down, around, forward, and back. Biggest rib cage you can. If you want, you can point the toes up and down. Ankle pumps. Now we're doing, it's like patting your tummy and rubbing your head. Too many things at once sometimes, but thinking about how that has an effect on the whole system.
Are my knees high enough?
Knees can come further up. Something I'll cue sometimes is to push the heel into the mat, and I want you to slowly pull this mat towards your butt. There you go. So anchor right there, you'll feel more of the hamstring. Boom. Big expansion, and then come back to center, and open up, palms up to the sky, back of the hands on the ground. If you can, beautiful, and rest.
Toes stay together.
What's that?
Toes stay together.
Just completely let go. So this is the position now that you induce the tension in the body, and when you let it go, it promotes the relaxation response. So before bed, we'll optimize your sleep. First thing in the morning, we'll prevent any compressions that are from being wound up in the covers from continuing on through your day. And then once again, great for getting started with the routine, supine decompression. The next one is going to be on your tummy, the prone work. So same positions, just on your chest. Close the hips together, big toes together, heels apart, wonderful. Float the hands for me just a little bit. Take a big breath, slowly tuck the chin towards the chest where your eyes are straight down. Each breath now, you should feel the head and the chest getting slightly further away from that mat. And when you exhale, it doesn't get closer. So each breath, you're just getting more and more of the spine. Yep. If you tuck the chin down and take the chin down to the left, down to the right, down to the left, down to the right, that's what's going to decompress the back of the neck. Anybody with a lot of tension behind their ears, with their head being slid forward all day, just forces them to get their head and their chest up and away from that mat, and then they can work on the left and right. You should feel that rejuvenation of that gyroscope in the neck that we looked at in the assessment. From here, take your left elbow down into your back pocket. Yep, and then reach the right hand up and forward. Wonderful, and alternate, nice and slow. If we use speed and momentum right here, we miss all of the tiny tissues that we want to recruit for this. Great space between the hands, great space between the hands. When you reach this time, pause, Okay, I want you to really close this elbow into my hand here. You're gonna feel the lat close and then press the left fingertips into the floor. And yep, isolate. Great work. Now, I'm gonna hold this back and down, push the outside of the foot into the mat. Good. So that's a full leg. Your head is in the right column. Your left hand, creep it over into the right column as well. So it starts to come open. And you really open in this side while you contract and control that side, and then alternate. So that's kind of the full zone there. So you start out with an easy version that's just opening things up, and then you're working on head, column to column, hand, column to column, closing that lat down on itself, and then opening it up to the length. This is great spine hygiene. Always pushing the outsides of the feet into the mat. Good work. Now both elbows down in the back pockets. Good. Push the hands into the floor here. Push your butt up in between your heels. Yes, and then rock forward and back from that. So try to keep the hands where they were. Nice and slow. Once again, you don't want to use momentum here. You want to constantly push the outsides of the feet into the mat. Almost like the outside of the shins push into the mat as well. Knees are a good distance apart right here. Some people will have their knees super narrow, some will have them super wide. That's going to have an effect on a different area of the hip. So if you were to widen the knees out, you're going to feel it more on the inside. If you tighten the knees out, you're going to feel it more on the back and the outside of the hip.
But my knees are perfect right here.
Feel great. Hips side to side.
From
Left and right. Think about pushing the tailbone back to the left, tailbone back to the right, tailbone back to the left, tailbone back to the right. In that rocker. Yep. Anybody with a lot of this that's just tight from long sitting, this is a great way to open it up. And then this is actually what happens with the pelvis when we walk, when we run.
Okay.
It swivels from side to side. So you're just warming up those tissues. From there, bring the hands back to the knees. And then thumbs at the base of the rib cage, pinkies on top of the hip bone. Big breath. Bring the hips slightly up off those heels. Good. Drive the hands forward. Press the fingertips together. There's a space right here between the first and second finger. Sorry, second and third, index and middle. You're going to put that where the wall meets the ceiling and keep the eyes right through it. And that's what's going to add length all the way through there. When you're in that shape, you can isometrically contract. You can squat with the butt towards the heels and come up and down. Good. Try to keep the rib cage lean forward best you can. There you go. As you squat, you should feel that spine start to open up. So now we're working against gravity for the first time. Now alternate reaches, just like you did in prone. Big expansion. Doing great. Your hands back down. We're going to take one stride forward, left forward, right. Okay, good. And then slide this all the way back. Knee all the way back. Good. And then forward. Okay, so you're working into that right hip.
Okay. Yeah, that's very unorthodox.
You feel it all in that right outside of the hip?
Yeah, especially right here.
That's the spot. That's what we're after. So some people will sit in a pigeon stretch if they're capable. Others, you don't want to stretch that nerve through there as much. You want to keep it moving. You're not actually seeking the depth in the range of motion as much as the consistency with a rhythm of moving in and out of that hip. And once you do one side, you get it mastered, do the other side, and then once you get the other side, you're going to alternate sides. So switch to the left side, knee down, yep, beautiful. However you need to move those pivot points with the hands, it'll feel comfortable. You'll find a spot where it's like, all right, that's the strong version. Like if someone were to run and try to tackle you, you would be able to hold your body in that position. That's what you want to feel. Always stable, and then always moving in and out of it. Good, and then alternate.
Okay, so
Yeah. Yes. Pushing the outside of the shin, the outside of the foot, that pinky toe, that index toe into the floor. Good work, good work. Come back to Seiza, resting position. Ready?
Yeah.
We're gonna tuck the toes. Tuck the toes under, good, and rockers back into tuck toes. This is for the first time I'm gonna stretch and lengthen the base of the foot. Kind of stretching the plantar fascia, if you will. Little bounces, feels good, opens it up, lengthens the base of the foot. It's always kind of like contracted. Toes are always curled under, right?
Yeah.
So now you're opening up those tissues and you're loading them under control. If you can't get all the way back, if somebody's unable to get their butt all the way back and really lengthen, then they don't need to go past that point. So everybody's body is going to be different. Toe tuck rockers can be really, really hard for people. If they need to stay in the untucked version and do these rockers more consistently every day before they move into the toe tuck version. Once the toe tuck version is mastered, you're going to take those hands centered between the knees and you're going to lift the knees up and slowly take the hips back. So now you're going to deep squat and then slowly bring the knees back down. You can go fist width distance, even a little more if you need. The goal here is the shins point out and the knees open when you're in that squat position. And when you come down, they kind of come back more neutral. When you're up here, there's an isometric point here too. If you want to take the elbows to the inside of the knees and push the elbows into the knees and the knees close on the elbows, that's a great hip opener. Just relax. Just come out.
Gotcha.
You're going to really feel that across the front and outside of those hips when you're pushing those elbows into those knees. This is another space where you can kind of shift weight foot to foot. Think with the chest, the sternum left, the sternum right, the sternum left, the sternum right. And then from here, hands are on the ground, we're going to lift the hips back. That's what's going to close the legs towards one another before you get those hips back. And then when you come back down and you descend the tailbone down to the ground, the knees open. So knees open, knees closed. Knees open, knees closed. Nice and slow. Should feel a lot of hamstring. The heels are off the ground. Noticing the foot pressure. Feet are fairly straight, maybe a little pigeon-toed for some. Outside the foot primarily is the pressure zone. You get that hamstring to open. If you find a slot where like, man, that really is tough, come out of it and return. Come out of it and return. Come out of it and return.
Heels off.
The heels off the ground. If someone has trouble with their hands all the way on the ground, their zone is really just going to be down here. If you do give them an elevated surface, they're going to be able to get their hips forward because they're going to be able to lean. And it allows them to get their hips further back. But for you, you're doing a great job with that shape. Come back down to Seiza, untuck the toes, give it a quick rest. One that we missed, coming in. Knees up, knees up, knees down. This is what opens up the shin box. Shin splints, runners, this is great for them. So now we've warmed up the hips, we've warmed up the spine, we've warmed up the ankle, we've got the foot, the toes, the wrist, the pressure right here. Right now you've got 4 pivot points, both hands, both feet. Right? So you could even turn this into a shoulder rocker. But now your shoulders are the primary. It looks the same as the rocker we did earlier, but your intention is more in the hands, the wrists. A way to protect joints here for somebody if they've got a wrist injury, fists with palms towards one another in those fists. That's going to protect the elbow and neutral. But the goal is to be able to do it with the hands down like you do. Great for grip, right?
Yeah.
Okay. boom, boom. Come all the way up. Squat to hinge, good, boom. Drag your hands up to the inside. Thumbs at the base of the rib cage, pinkies on top of the pelvis. Same exercise, doing it in standing. Open the shoulders, shoulder the palms. Drive the palms forward, palms up, thumbs away. Pinkies together, thumbs apart. All the way up. Okay, bring those hands towards the head, elbows towards one another, touch them. Bring them down. You're going to find a slot there that's difficult, and then that's where you drop the hands out. Hard to hold there. If you've got somebody that's got more girth in their body, you can give them a ball or a towel or something to squeeze. Go to yoga block. Something for them to have that stability to push into.
Are my elbows high enough?
Feel that opening up here?
Yeah.
Yes. The lower you get the elbows, the harder that's going to be.
Okay.
You'll notice that the elbows want to separate the further you get them down. From there, then close. Boom. Drive the hands out. Open the elbows, close the elbows, open the elbows, close the elbows. And then drive out and all the way up. Straight up. Good. A little bit of a squat, butt back, heels unweighted. Close the hips. Good. And then alternate your reaches. When the hand comes down, the elbow comes to the back of the body, the chest slightly turns towards that low elbow. Both hands up. Bring them down behind the ears. Elbows apart from one another. Close the elbows together. Open them wide.
These are those packs?
Elbow packs. So the first thing we're doing, just opening up, alternating reaches, and then elbow packs. And then 2-second holds, as far back as you can get them. Open them, 1, 2, and then far together, touch them together, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. You want to add intensity, close the hips, point the butt further back, put the rib cage further forward in that zone where it's almost like you're going to lose your balance forward. Last one, out to the side. Palms up, thumbs back, go down, under, and forward. All the way up, back, down, under, and forward. Back, down, under, and forward. Back, down, under, and forward. Big breath. Expand and elevate. Maintain that expansion, that elevation, and you come back down and in. Boom. Yes. Back to center. One breath. We're going to keep going. Step slightly forward with one foot. Turn towards that foot that's forward. Drive the hands forward. Come all the way up. From there, it's going to be your right elbow, because it's your right foot forward.
Okay.
Drop it down into the back pocket. And really reach with that top side and raise this back heel and close that back hip. So now all your pressure is going to be in that right hip. Hold it. Big breath. Expand and elevate. Good. Slowly come back to center. Step the left foot through where it's even again. Now step the right foot back. Cool. Yeah. A lot of people have that knee, they want to drive it forward. Make sure you're keeping the hip back. So you're turning the pelvis towards that front foot. Okay. And then packing the elbow into the hip, reaching, and once you reach, then you're playing with that back heel. Because now you've got length from that hand down to the torso all the way to the hip and the calf. I should be able to bounce a penny off that calf.
Okay.
And then come back to center. So step through, back parallel, boom. And now you're ready for a walk, a run, a workout, anything. Because your entire system now is decompressed. From the feet to the neck.
And even here, Cody, my heels they have contact with the ground, but there's no weight on them. Is that
That's perfect.
acceptable?
That's
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
I'll say feather the ground. Another great way to look at this is if you have a saltine cracker under that heel, that it won't crack. You can touch it, but there's very little pressure.
Okay.
If you get too far up into the toes, now you're almost compressing the ankle,
Okay.
right? So you're slowly dropping it,
Okay.
and you're finding that security system. Once
A little
again,
bounce.
at any moment today, who's your favorite football player? Your linebacker? Who's the scariest man in the world or woman in the world? She might walk through those doors any moment, try to tackle you. You got to be able to sustain that tackle in the positions you're in through that entire flow. If you can have that mindset of stability, then you'll have that. It's a tensegrity or like global tensioning. The whole system is elastic. As soon as there's slack in that system, it's prone to injury.
You're jogging from village to village.
You're
There's
gonna
a
bounce.
fucking cougar on your way.
You gotta jump, you gotta run up, what is it, Machu Picchu?
Machu Picchu.
Yeah, people are like, yeah, I'm gonna go see that, and then they're like, I'm not in shape to get there. Holy cow. They built that at some point. Somebody, I don't know how they did it.
Yeah.
The body's resilient. What the body is today is not what the body is made for. Nobody uses it to the system that they do because we're living in this world that's so compressive and comfortable and not natural. You're here.
Yep.
So this system routine gets you long and elongated and open and ready to add and compound into this.
Okay.
Let me check that play card.